Say, have you heard about Albert Einstein? Well, of course you have. Well, he's one of the greatest scientists the world has ever known. Anyway, well, you already know that one of his most famous theory is the general theory of relativity. But do you know that he's not the only one proposing it? Like, he doesn't work entirely by himself. Well, actually, there's another scientist who helped him in the way. This movie explains the history behind the theory of relativity. Einstein and Eddington is a single drama featuring David Tennant as Sir Arthur Stanley Eddington and Andy Serkis as Albert Einstein. Well, you might be questioning, who is this Sir Arthur Stanley Eddington? Well, he's a British scientist who proves the theory of relativity that Einstein had proposed. Back to the movie explanation. The story of this movie is set in the First World War. Back in 1914, Eddington was appointed as the astronomer at Cambridge University by Sir Oliver Lodge. His duty is to research Einstein's work and defend the Newtonian status quo, which is regarding to the classical mechanics, the leading theory of physics at that time. At the same time, Einstein was recalled to the Prussian Academy of Science in an attempt to disprove Newton's theory. Later in the story, Eddington presents his lecture to his fellow astronomers at the university. Well, he defends Newton's theory, but a part of him felt that maybe Einstein's theory perhaps he's right. And then he decided to research more about this matter, but soon he found obstruction because back in the wartime, the British and the Germans are not in a good relationship with each other. They are against each other. So the British government had, they restricted the circulation of scientific literatures from Germany. Well, despite all this obstruction, he wrote to Einstein about how Mercury's orbit is slightly less than it should have been if following Newton's law. After hearing the news from Eddington, Einstein began to research more about this matter with a fellow scientist, Max Planck. And after a long, arduous work, they finally found out that Einstein's work agree with Mercury's orbit, while Newton's one doesn't. Einstein soon wrote a reply to Eddington about his findings. So, at this point, maybe you thought that it's just a science documentary and nothing fun to watch, but actually there's some emotional part in this story as well that you might find enjoyable. It deals with Einstein's affairs with a lady, which none other than his own cousin Elsa, and his protest against the poison gas developed for the war. Meanwhile, Eddington slowly loses his faith in God because of the tragedy in war. He lost a dear friend at the Second Battle of Ypres, and guess what? The cause of the tragedy at the war back then is because of the poison gas, the same one that Einstein fervently opposed. Despite his poor health condition due to stress and overworking, Einstein managed to complete his work about general relativity and how starlight bends, a phenomenon known as gravitational lensing. He soon wrote his finding to Eddington via Planck, in which Eddington realized, maybe I can prove this theory by observing the solar eclipse. He decided to went he decided to go to the western African island of Principe to observe this solar eclipse. At first, he had difficulties in funding his exploration, but it works in the end. But not only that, his challenge didn't end there. When arriving at Principe 29th May 1919, the weather was not quite good for observing solar eclipse. Fortunately, the sky became clear at the very last moment, allowing Eddington to take some photographs for his demonstration back at Cambridge. In front of the audience, Eddington compared the photographs of the sky during the eclipse and the one taken during the night sky in a normal condition. And it soon became clear that the starlight in those photographs doesn't align perfectly with each other. In other words, it bends. This proved that Einstein's theory is right, but not only that, Eddington also found reassurance to his faith, as he stated, "I can hear God thinking." I think this movie is really suitable for, those who like historical drama but wants to have more twists. Sometimes it's kind of boring to see historical drama, just stories about ancient kingdoms and stuff. Why don't try something different, something a little bit more sciencey, but not as confusing as science fiction series. That if you desire such refreshment in your watch list, then this movie is for you. Okay. Perhaps that's all our random ramblings this time. I hope that we can meet again at the next occasion. I'll see you again.